Well, hello, welcome to Drawing with Fire. I'm Valarie, your neighborhood pyrography artist. I'm joined with hubby.
Okay.
And off to the side, behind a gate, are the fur babies, and hopefully that can keep things somewhat quiet. Fingers crossed. All right, so today I'm gonna be working on my piece. I did fill in more compared to last week. I quickly just blocked in some areas and kind of deepened some stuff. Definitely not the final where it's going to be. So we got that part in, but today we're also going to be talking about varnish. Hey Kathy, Spence, Gila, Carrie, hello, as more people come in. So we're going to, I keep saying over and over, so I'm hoping I can reach more people on the stuff I've learned about varnish, my opinions and what I use and why I use it, and hopefully that could help you out, because I'm seeing a lot of dulling and white speckles and like white kind of blurring out of using different sprays. So I really want to talk about that, and hopefully that can help. So we're going to get started on doing the ball and chain. This is the only metal. This is the only metal I have in the piece. I already put the nails in, and those really, I mean, I might darken them some more, but other than that, they're almost similar to railroad ties, and because they're so small and how the piece is, getting any kind of highlights on it, I mean, I got a little bit at the top here, but that's kind of hard. So we are going to switch the camera over, angle it, so you can see what I'm doing. Now I've pulled out the 9M and the 18 small ball tip in order to get into these small areas. Let's see if I can zoom you guys in more so you can see what I'm doing. I did fill in the areas so that I have more chain. I also have my pattern up top because my transfer is really light. I used an older piece of graphite paper because I didn't want anything like too overly dark. So I have my pattern so I can go, okay, that's what that is, because I can read it from my pattern, because I did change this photo. So I can't use it as a direct reference. So we're going to get in on these little chains, and we have, I do think I'm going to set it 2.5. I was at 1.5. No.
Okay, that's not working.
That's not working. We're trying to, she has anxiety issues, Roxy does, and she just does not like to be away from us. So we're trying to figure out the best way to help her and have a quiet stream for you guys. All right, so I have my background in between, and then right here, the ball starts coming in. So I'm going to start down here in a smaller area. And let's see, this is I'm going to go down to 2. Because I do need the chain lighter than the background, which the background still is going to go darker. So where are we? So this right here is part of this old timey cuff. That's what I went with these. I went with more of the like really old. Can't, for whatever reason, my brain is not wanting to give me a name. And I do have reference photos of the ones I used so that I can look at them and know what is what. But of course things are going to change. And I'm going to darken around so I don't lose them. Here is where I have to do the most balancing of lights and darks so we can make out everything that is there. So my light is coming directly forward. So that means the darker is going to go along the edge. Sounds like he's convinced Dad for peanut butter and carrot treat. So I need to leave a little bit area for highlight. I'll put the dark area in first so that I can go back and adjust. And then I keep going back and forth. There's such small areas. So it's always good to have at least one little tip if possible, just to help you work out what you're trying to do. So we have the bar, and it goes into the other side. So I just very quickly just lay that in. So we've got our light hitting on this direction, so that means the under half is darker, which means that's got to go even darker. And this is why I never go, I'm finished with an area, because I always know I'm going to need to adjust. So we'll put that in. Remember, chains overlap, so we have to make sure we get that overlap in there. Let's see here. Don't want to lose my spot. That's the other end. It's such a small detail that I did try to decide if I wanted to put it in, but I think it helps convey the message of feeling trapped. So that's why I went ahead and kept it. And then the chain also changes because I used 2 different reference photos. So the chain does change in its makeup, but I don't think that's an issue either. So I'm going to, darkest part is going to be where it's not getting hit by any light. And darken up these areas around it. The negative burning goes a long way. So this one is sideways. And I can leave it lighter, and I know I need to. So this is the top one that goes around, and it links through here. So right here is going to have a bit of shadow. Right here is going to have a bit of shadow. As long as I can separate the background from this, should hopefully be okay. Definitely easier with graphite. So let's see here. This overlaps. There we go. I was almost losing it. So that overlaps. Goes inside here. Chain is always easier to do when it's bigger. So this comes through underneath this one. Sometimes I think they've figured it out, so that one goes, this one goes through that one. And see, if you're doing like Celtic knots, this is the same thing. So this one.
Are you caught up on chat?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so Carrie says, sorry I missed a couple of live streams, but I'm on
totally understand.
24-hour call.
Totally understand.
Joys of being a plumber.
Hey, you are very necessary.
Yep.
Let's see here. See, where I have part of my issue with my drawing is the chain changes directions. So trying, this one goes through this one, this way. That didn't last very long.
No, carrots and peanut butter.
They're like snack done. Trying to see if I can fix this because this one goes inside. This one goes inside. It can be easy to lose your place.
Yeah, chains are good because I know when I do like repeated patterns like that, like you have to be very, very careful because if you do one of the overlaps wrong, then it screws up the pattern and it doesn't look right.
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful about how each link is laying.
You see, they also have a raised area.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point I am doing a little bit of outlining, and that's just so I don't lose.
Yeah.
Like as long as I do it lighter or the same tone. Let's see here. Like I lost that one. But I can do one of two things. I can make them really dark and kind of blend in. Oh, child.
What do you want me to do? I can't think of. They quiet down when I'm out there, but I need to be in here. I can bring them in.
No, we may not have a choice.
It's just going to be their nails clicking on the floor, that's all.
Yeah, did the nails bother you guys last week? If they didn't bother you, then it's right here. I need to finish the circle. You'd think we were bad doggy parrots. See, these turned sideways. There we go. If I can move it real quick, I can keep it lighter. See, I didn't lose those, but these are kind of... Let's see if I can cover up my oops. Yeah, this all has to do with being small. Well, hello, yes. You got what you wanted. You little stinkers. It worked. See, no reason to be upset, guys. Alright, so the way this is the rest of the chain. So this one's the big chain. There we go. Let's see if we can get it back.
Roxy.
See, if I pull back, let's pull back real quick because you can see my oopses. But if I pull back, and if you're just looking at it regularly, it looks like a chain. So this looks a little orangey. Let me adjust that just a little bit.
Yes, I see you.
It's a little better. There we go. Okay. But looking at it from a distance, it looks like a chain. It's only when you get close up that you see all my squiggle marks and whatnot. So let's see if I can smooth that out a bit. Think, think, think. How do I want to do this? First, I want to erase.
Hey, you guys need to lay down.
One thing you've always got to remember, and I have to remind myself, small things have less detail.
You hear that, Morgan? You got less detail.
Less detail. You have to do more of a make it look like it versus
Good girl, Layla.
this. Bring that in. Let's see if I can kind of fix this a little bit. I mean, if I have to, I can always scratch out. I prefer not to, if at all possible. I did lower my heat.
Burl's here.
Hey, Burl. So this chain goes on top here.
I see you.
Based on how I've done it, I'm making the chain look bigger than it should. So let's see how much I can readjust. What I can do is take a knife. Since it is lighter, I can reshape it a little bit. What I could do is keep this light and just where the shadow is, put a little burning. That probably would work better. Quit putting things in your mouth.
I'm not sure.
That's where you got us in trouble. Alright. So this one goes around here. This one comes down. Just trying to follow my lines. If I can get away with not scratching, I will, but I did get a little off.
Burl says it's still winter there.
Our winter didn't last very long.
No, it's full-blown summer here.
No, it's not summer. Warm spring, for sure.
Well, it's summer for me. And when we get to even hotter summer,
I'm trying to see because we got this overlapping. It's kind of messy. I'm trying to figure out how I want to deal with that. But here, this goes around.
am I not petting you enough?
Yeah, definitely messier than I want. So let's just quickly do these so I don't lose them. Sometimes an outline is just necessary. Now where does this one go?
That's unusual to hear you say.
Sometimes it is necessary, but always do it light. I know that's unusual, but something like this, where it's such a small area.
Roxy. Jeez.
And then onto the ball. Because I can always blend it in. Well, hello.
Good girl.
Can't really see what's
Thank you.
going on in the top here because the chain is connected.
Okay, she's laying down behind you now.
Okay, works for me. Thank you. Let's see here. We don't really see too much of the background, but let's put in a little bit. And then the side, let's see here. I've got the note going up. See, the background in here is the note.
It's spent when you said sometimes a line is necessary.
So
Spence said, did Val really just say that?
I did. Sometimes it is. Always keep it light.
Well, I mean, sometimes something that appears like a line appears in nature.
Yeah.
So you could call it a line, but it's just
Shadow.
It's just shadow and contrast.
Let's get that. So we have the light coming in this direction, which means this edge is going to be darker because it's rolling over, and then this edge And then I can get rid of the graphite. I know, I don't say it often. But sometimes
Morgan. Morgan.
it's necessary.
Roxy.
Children. Definitely like having 2 3-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
It is harder because it is so dark. Meaning the whole piece is dark.
Yeah. Well, and it should be.
Yeah. Alright. Now I can shape things a little bit more. And actually I'm wondering what shader, because it's small enough that I can get in, because I'm going to need to use it for the ball anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I haven't decided what texture. Like I said, this one has a lot of like worn areas and a bit of rust and like where the metal is flaking.
Mm.
And I don't know that I want all that going on.
Yeah, I think
it'll be too much if I put that in.
yeah, I think that if you just have I mean, it already reads as a ball and chain, so I don't think you really need to add all that detail into it.
No. I'll just make it a sphere. Like almost like a black cannonball.
Yeah, that's what I think.
I can put a little texture, I think, but not
Yeah.
not what I'm looking at, just because you guys can't see. That's what I'm looking at. It's got a lot of texture, and I'm not thinking I want that.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's already so much texture in that area. So I've switched it over to the 19 small, the spear shader. Because it should be small enough for me to get into the areas the way I want to. And I'm at 2. And I'm just running it very quickly. And I need to overlap the shadow onto the leg. A little bit down here, a little bit down here, because the light is hitting right there. And then we need to get more into the foot. Bring it up quicker. I am going to make the floor darker, the ground, but for now. See, the foot goes right here. See how things blend in?
Mm-hmm.
But they need to go together or it'll look like what I did, and that's piece it together. I'll darken this area, using more of the tip and the side. That is the top of it. And this is the other side of the bolt. You see how, because the tones are all so similar, I have to be careful or I just end up with a dark blob. I think if we just do this, I'm flat and I'm just dragging. I need to go into the foot flat. Let's pull some of this out. So it's not so harsh, but it shows everything is overlapping each other.
Yeah.
But this also shows I need to darken the bottom now, just to make sure I have my shapes right. So for the chains, I think I'm just going to go where they connect. We're looking at the back side of it. And we'll use the wood as the highlight. Now to do spheres, I will probably have to come back and adjust this, but for now I think it's working. So for the sphere, I'm actually going to bump up almost 3. It's like 2 1/4.
Oh.
I'm going to touch down flat on the outside where it's already dark. And I'm going to bring it in. And since we know the direction of the light, I'm going to start putting in my shadows first, following
Roxy.
the sphere.
Putting everything in your mouth.
I don't know.
Stop eating stuff. It's not food.
I always try to follow the direction of the sphere. And then we're going to need shadow where the chain's overhanging. And this is going to have to go darker.
Spence says looks good though.
Okay. So right where the chain. And then I'm going to go a little bit more on the tip. Now if I'm going to do black, all of it does need to be darker. One thing I do when I'm on the phone, I practice shading shapes, squares and circles and triangles. Oh yeah. If you grab my notes over there, you'll see from the meetings. I'm always practicing doodling while I'm on the phone. So yeah, this is gonna have to go darker, but we can do it in layers. I do need to leave a highlight, but it's not going to be a bright. If I'm going with a black ball, it's not going to be bright necessarily, especially in this situation, because it's going to be a dark room anyway. Just going flat. I was waiting for Sonia because she's one of the reasons I want to talk about varnish.
Carrie says the chain looks so realistic. Love it.
Thank you. Looking up close, I have
Oh, sorry about that.
I have an issue with it, but I have to tell myself to knock it off.
Yeah.
I'm okay if this isn't perfectly smooth. 'Cause
Hey.
don't try to play with your sister right now. I hurt everybody's ears. A little bit of texture just gives that metal look more. More of a hammered.
Yeah.
Now we will have a little bit of cast light from back here. So I am leaving a bit of a line. But then it'll be dark down here. And then brighter here. I think we can go dark in here. This is where the chain is connecting. And again, this just shows how much the background still needs to darken. But I think I have enough to erase. Let's see. Yeah, oh yeah, it needs to go darker. So I'm going to go ahead and bump it to 3.5. Okay, moving quickly. So I guess next week we'll work on the background and getting a gradient so it shows, looks like the light is coming up from behind without putting anything obvious in there. Alright, flat, touch down, pull some heat from my tip. Then I pull it up so I'm kind of like half tip. And it's okay if I get some darks, since I am going darker. But it is giving me some texture based on how I'm going across the grain on the wood. It's going to be darker at the bottom here. And it's almost, it is okay almost if the ball looks dirty.
Yeah, I think that adds to it.
Yeah. Trying to go around dark. Gotta leave that cast light. And I'll bring it together at the end where it's a little darker, but it's still lighter than the edge. We want this to look 3D.
Yeah.
Like a sphere. The biggest way to do that is to get the lighting right.
No. Stop it.
I'm going to have to come in here and really... Oh, who did that? Layla did that, didn't she? Is Layla right behind me? Yep.
Spence says, the book that I recommended well over a year ago, I lost it in the move.
Oh.
Searching for months, but we'll probably have to borrow it from the library. What book was that?
Drawing from the left side of the brain or right side of the brain?
Right side of the brain.
Yeah, pretty sure it was that.
Ms. not Ms. Anna's Mellow Yellow says, sorry, I missed last week. Wow, this is coming along beautifully.
Oh, well, thank you. Hello. Mello, do you have a first name you'd like us to call you by? Well, last week was off because we had to reschedule the Tuesday live.
Yeah, because we had a sick doggy.
It put us through some more scares over the weekend, but now seems to be getting her body in order.
Yeah.
So I'll have to decide if I want to go any darker with this. I'm kind of liking the lightness of it. Trying to smooth out
No, come here.
some of the areas. Now I do need to drag out some of these darks.
I'm going to let you eat that.
Helps hide any highlights that, or any outlines that I've used.
Mellow Yellow's name is Tanya.
Tanya.
Hey.
I shall now remember. In general. Sometimes I forget.
You do better than I do.
Well, I also interact more than you do. Because it's not your channel. You just...
Headphone alert. No. No.
They heard another dog.
That other dog is in their... They're in their yard.
They get to bark in their yard just like you do. Even though we stop you.
No.
Alright.
No.
So let's back out and see how...
No.
If this would look...
Shh.
Let's see. So the paper is going to be light. I may still darken the ball.
Yeah.
But until I have every element in, that's going to be really hard to... So it needs to go darker, but not anywhere near here. And this is how I critique my piece, because I'm looking at it on the screen smaller instead of right at it. It allows me to see... I might put a little bit more shadowing at the bottom of the rock to almost do like a vignette. I haven't decided that yet, but I mean, of course, she needs to go darker. There's no question on that. This may be a little too oval in its shape. I'm actually going to bump down to 2 so I can kind of reshape that highlight a little bit.
Okay.
And there can be multiple areas of shadow, of highlights. Kind of break that up a little bit. No. Roxy.
No, that's Layla. Oh, I see. I'm watching her.
So I kind of reshaped it. It doesn't show up as much because it's not as dark. I think I may have a little bit too much. This needs to be the brightest area because we're going to have some of that light from right here. So I need to alter it a little bit. Then I'll decide if it needs more. Look at it small. Still this. I feel the shape I want. I know it's easier for me to look at it small in real time because I'm doing it on camera with you guys, but what you could do, get my phone. Oh. If you're having a hard time, of course you can take a picture, but if you're not wanting to stop burning while you're doing it, although you could still take a picture and hold it up while you're doing it. Alright, so you could take a picture of it. And then I can work it, it wants to listen to me, in and out. But now the picture is smaller than what I'm doing. So in effect I'm squinting but with my camera, kind of. Mm. And always, you can always go further away, it's just the camera's right here, so I didn't want to block you guys. But this is a way you can look at it in a squint view and see. Now the color's off because of course I haven't adjusted it or anything else to get the right tones of the photo, but I can see where the darks are, I can see where the lights are, and I can see that the ball is going to need to go darker.
Roxy.
No. Child.
I just took that away from you.
It's a little darker. See, I can just keep going back to the burn. Though it's always good if you're taking a break to always take a picture of your piece.
Out.
Like after I'm done with the live, I'll take a picture.
Yeah.
Before I touch it again. Like you probably won't touch it again until like next Monday because I'm working on another video. See, I'm going to have to try to blend out some of these lines up top. Yeah, so that's how I would do it if I needed a small area. Again, I'm looking at a small screen, so I'm monitoring the live, so I can see in a different way. So real quick, while we got people's in here, we're going to talk about varnish. I'm going to go ahead, turn off the burner. So, I'm seeing some people, it's not overly a lot, but, and it has happened to me, and I had to do research and call the company to find out why. So I'm seeing people having issues with using a spray varnish, and they're using like semi-gloss or satin or matte, and it happened to me with semi-gloss where they're having white puddles and specks, or the piece is, I didn't ask Sonia if I could use her photo to give an example. Hopefully Sonia won't mind, because it's the only way, the best way for me to explain what's going on. So Sonia was working on a beautiful horse, and he had this issue of her. I'm trying to. They are just gonna be in a mood. Sorry, I'm trying to save the photo so I can zoom in and out. And sometimes it lets me, and sometimes it doesn't. Alright. Let's find the photo I just downloaded.
In regards to the ball and chain, Burl says when you picture a ball and chain, the ball is always black.
Ah ha ha, ah ha ha. I know what he's doing, but let me show because he came in later. Oh, it's black now, is it? Ha ha. Not black. I had to give her a hard time.
She just said if you picture it.
Well, I didn't have to picture it. I had to
See, I'm backing you up, Burl. He's got to give me some credit, right?
Give you some credit.
Yeah, cut me some slack sometimes.
Sorry, I'm gonna lighten this up a little bit because of where the camera's at is darker. All right, so we can see where he sprayed some the UV Krylon. I don't know if it's the archival or if it's a different version of Krylon, but it's UV spray. How it has completely. This is, I believe, is the spray side. He may have already cleaned this side off. How it has clouded it, and he says there's some white speckle. I can't see it necessarily on this picture, but cameras can do silly things. But we can see he used denature alcohol to wipe it off, which is good because that's what it's going to require to wipe it off. This happens right here a lot of the time with a matte spray because with varnish, so we've got gloss, semi-gloss, satin, matte, and sometimes there's another one in there. Gloss, they take that batch of gloss, and I talked to Minwax about this. That's why I have the information. They take a batch of gloss and they go, okay, we need to have semi-gloss, satin, and matte. So they pull out what they need, and then they drop in an additive. And that additive is cutting the gloss. So semi-gloss, you're going to have a little less additive. Satin, you're going to get more. And matte is going to have the most additive to it. So if you're using a can of spray, again, if you're brushing it on, this doesn't apply in this way. If you're using a can of spray, that additive can clump. It can spit out. It cannot mix when you shake it for the 2 minutes that's required to shake it, and shake it heavy. And that's when you get that issue. For her whole piece to do that, to go that, and she said she had no problems the day before with the can. Unfortunately, we never know how old the can is, and we never know how old, what kind of mood the can is in. And it can be frustrating. It happened for my owl for the magazine. I got white spots, and I called Minwax because I was using semi-gloss at that time. I'm like, why did it do this? And that's the explanation they gave it to me. Or actually, I had to ask about an additive. They were telling me it didn't have time to dry in between layers, which I don't think that was the issue, because in order for me to fix the owl before it could go up north for publication and photos and all that, I had to sit there, and I had already put multiple coats, and I had a fan on it, and I was trying to dry it, and I had to sand all those little white spots and try to take it down to the wood as much as I could without touching the burning, and then fill it back up with brush on in order to fix it. And I didn't do all the spots. If it was on the feathers, it kind of worked. So, but in my dark background, that is why I know about the additive, because I went through that hell.
Oh.
It was hell.
Oh.
Oh no.
It's Layla. She's right here.
Sniff it all in so I don't get it. I gotta talk to them.
I love you.
Thank you. I love you.
Remember me. So I can't speak for all products, but for Krylon, the additive that they use is solvent in So that's a problem a lot of times, is that solvent, because they tell you to shake the can for 2 minutes, but if that solvent doesn't mix properly,
it's gonna spit.
Then you end up with spots of solvent, and so if you,
which is also why the denatured alcohol worked and her wiping it off.
Right.
The solvent reacts to the denatured alcohol.
You're supposed to be able to apply heat, not a lot, but heat is supposed to be able to solve that, because the solvent will,
I'll have to test that. I didn't know
clear
that.
Up.
So you're saying if he took like a heat gun from a distance and did this area where it's cloudy, it would clear up?
Possibly.
Huh. I need to test that.
She'd have to be very careful though, because but the other problem with
it'd have to be fast sweeping motions.
If you spend too much time
in one
bubble,
area. Okay.
And then your piece is ruined.
Okay, I'm gonna have to test that and see how that works with wood.
Yeah.
And see if that is a good resolution if this happens. I mean, she's using denatured alcohol, and that's how she got it off of right here. You can see where she's white because it's on the edge, and you can see the break and the denatured alcohol work. What I also do is I never use matte anything. That is a personal preference for wood burning. I do for any art that I do. I don't want matte because that additive cuts the light. That's what it's doing. It's cutting the light so it's not glaring in your face. I personally don't like it. I don't knock anybody else who uses it. I choose not to use it. I get a much better finish and a much brighter colors within the browns of wood burning with gloss. So a workaround if you want to use matte and satin and not have these issues. This is the UV spray I use, and it's still Krylon. Knock on wood. I have never had a problem with it because it is gloss. And I use the trigger spray, so it gives a nice even coat. And I shake, and I shake, and I get an arm workout for 2 minutes, and I'm shaking hard to ensure it's all mixed. But I'm using gloss, and when I use the gloss, I have zero issues with any cloudiness or the white spots or anything like that. So I would recommend using a gloss spray, UV spray, if that's what you're going to use. Plus, I don't know if it's the archival she's using. There's other UV sprays that I saw other people having problems with. That was matte. But this is the one I use. And then spray this, follow the directions. Then brush on your matte finish. The matte finish will cut the gloss, but you won't have any of the cloudiness issues. I need to test what you said about applying heat.
Yeah.
I don't have any matte spray though.
Okay. Carrie said, "Can you use a hairdryer?" Yes.
Yes, you could.
That's actually better in this case because you don't want it to bubble.
I do have a heat gun that has a lot of. I can cool it off more than a hairdryer, so that's why my brain was thinking heat gun. But yes, a hairdryer would absolutely work.
So, and the other thing you have to worry about with that particular finish, especially with Krylon, because I've used Krylon a lot because I've used it as an intermediate coat before I put on final clears when I've done automotive stuff in the past, and Krylon is highly flammable. So you do have to be careful with it. And it's also...
So when you do the light heat, does it need to be dry prior to doing it? Or do you do it while it's wet? Because I would think if you're doing it while it's wet, you'll get the ripples.
No, you don't want to do it while it's wet. You want
to do
it
dry.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to test that.
And
let's see if we got it.
Basically what's happening is it's taking that solvent and it's
breaking it down.
It's breaking it down and it's drying it, and it's coming through the layer of paint or of varnish because it's the vehicle that carries it. So it's allowing it to. You're
drying the vehicle, the carrier of the.
And so you're just leaving
protection.
The protection.
Now here's what I do. She's getting buffering.
Yeah, we aren't. I haven't seen any.
Oh no! Yeah, we haven't gotten any. Oh, I hate when that happens. Bye, Kathy.
Bye, Kathy.
All right, so here is how I varnish my pieces. Now, I have, instead of using a UV spray, I have been using workable fixative. And I'm testing it on a piece. But visually from what I've used, I have not, and this is what the Raven Nebula got, was workable fixative. I haven't had an issue with the wood darkening. And if it does darken, it's so slight that even my eyes aren't really picking it up. But again, I'm testing it just to verify that. I haven't had any issues with the white spitting or cloudiness with this. It's meant to go on top of art and be worked on top of for dry media. So I put this on first, and then I have actually fully left any wood varnish. I'm not using wood varnish anymore. And this is an empty bottle. That's why it's open and dried open. I have switched over to Liquitex gloss varnish, and this varnish is specific for artwork. And that's why I went ahead and switched. And this one is non-removable, so if you screw up, you can't take it off. Though I would have to test that because denatured alcohol might actually take it off. No, I wouldn't do it on a piece. It would be a scrap piece of wood. It's archival, which means it has light fast qualities. So that's why I haven't really been using the UV spray, because this is already light fast. If you look at their website, they claim it's light fast. This one's gloss. Like I said, I always use gloss, but they do have matte, and I believe they also have semi-gloss. I think they also have satin, and they have a high gloss, because you use the high gloss for your paintings.
Yep.
And then it says it's for acrylics. Because we put the workable fixative on top, it's zero issues. But even if we did it directly on the burning, as long as it was clean, they would still not have an issue. So this is what I have switched over to. Now, it is a little bit more expensive. I think this bottle was just shy of $9, and it's 8 ounces. I used this much of the bottle because I had done presents with the top of this. I used about this much of the bottle for the Raven Nebula, but I was pouring on thick, and that had 7 coats.
Yeah. And just, she's got a rubber on. That's fine.
Okay.
And just for comparison, like, I normally use 2 to 3 coats, and so I'm not using as much. Yeah. But you wanted that.
I wanted it to look like resin without it being resin. That's why. And even then, I could have gone with more. And that's the difference. Minwax, I believe the can says, or in general, the thought is 3 to 4 coats max with Minwax. I don't know the other brands because I don't use them. This, you can just keep going and keep going and keep going, and you can build thick layers, and they take longer to dry. It's better to do thin layers, but many, many, many of them to make a thick top on it. So that's why I have switched over to this, because it is very specific to art. It's a very specific product, whereas wood varnishes, not that. So let me make sure I didn't say that. Carving and building and all of that beautiful work is also art. But it's art, its function is a different function.
Yeah.
Is that,
Varnish is isn't it more of a protective coating? Like protecting something that's going to be in use? Like, say, handrails or banisters or something?
Varnish is an old term. We still use it based on what
I'm talking about wood varnish specifically.
Well, that tends to be like lacquer and things like that.
Yeah. This
is technically a sealant. So is the Minwax water-based. Right. This is also water-based. Forgot to say that. This is also water-based, so it cleans with water. But we use the varnish and sealant back and forth. This is technically a sealant, but everybody knows these things as a varnish, so they use the term varnish to make it more understandable.
So Pearl said something interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Said, so if you listen to Pat, you should do the backside so the oxygen can't go through the wood and oxidize the burn.
Yes, it's waterproof. Says it's permanent, non-removable, archival, gloss. It depends on what... I haven't tested it to be fully...
I've tested it by accident.
Yeah.
It's pretty water resistant. I don't know about waterproof, but it beads off.
I would say go to their website because they do have something specific about the varnishes, and you can read because they have a different kind that's a green label, and that one is removable.
Yeah.
I haven't tested that one, so I don't know. I don't know if that one's oil based though. Yeah. Which any oil based product will darken your wood more so than water. I know what Pat says about the oxygen penetrating through the back of the wood. And I really need to test this. In general, the reason wood burnings panels are not varnished on both sides because the wood does need to breathe like in our climate. So we're dry. So the wood is stable as at this humidity level because this is where we generally stay. But then monsoon hits in July, fingers crossed, and then our humidity goes from 9 to 13%, so we're as dry as the piece of wood,
Yeah.
to anywhere from 60 to 100% humidity. And because of that, the wood is going to grow and expand. And when it's dry, it contracts. So the grains are going to go back and forth. But the minute you seal it, you could cause an issue with that. I need to test it through both dry and wet season and see if how that works. Because you'd also need to make sure you got the ends fully sealed. I mean, you could do it with resin. I need to check to see if you can do it with varnish and it be okay. And it would have to be more than one season.
I know with canvas, you don't want to do the back because you need it to expand and contract.
Well, the main thing is if it's expanding and contracting and it can't move, that's where you can get the cracks.
Yeah.
But if you're not doing the back, in theory, again, I am going to test all this. I never want to give wrong information. For wood burning, and it probably also has to do with the thickness of the wood. This is this one's an 1/8 of an inch thick. So it's going to have more movement than a 1/2 inch piece of wood. That's why it's cupping right now. It didn't cup when I originally started this burning, but as heat is applied, see the movement? It starts cupping. But if I fully varnished it, if I did this, I'm more likely, at the very least, to crack the varnish. At the very least, if I did both sides. I will test that. I can take a scrap piece of wood, and I'll do it with this thin one, and I will let it sit. We won't be able to revisit it until next year to see if there was any issues. But I will find a scrap piece of, whether it be an old burning that I don't care about. Probably it would need to be that in order to check it with wood burning.
It's a long-term experiment.
So yeah, that's going to take about a year just to see how it responds. But if the wood, say, burrows up in British Columbia, where their humidity is higher, if the humidity is maintained that within a certain range all year long, that may be less of an issue because the wood is staying where it should for that location. But like here, because we are so dry, and then we get monsoons supposed to be from July to September, it should be supposed to be very wet here. That is a big jump in the change. Yep. So see, I see what you're saying. He's saying if it's totally sealed, the humidity shouldn't affect it.
Well, that's just something I have to test.
Yeah, I'm going to test it and see why. Because it's kind of been a standing thing. Don't do the back. And I can't think of a piece that I've done in the back. Because that's not done. Yours isn't done. I'm trying to think of an old piece that I've done where the back was also varnished. I don't remember ever I have varnished over my name on the back so that it, you'd have to sand it to remove it. But I haven't varnished the full piece like that. So I don't fully know.
You
If
know,
you hear that squeaking, that's Munchkin down at my feet chewing on a rubber bone. Sorry.
Yeah.
But it's keeping her quiet and happy, so.
Now, if it is the case that varnishing and completely sealing it is the way to go, then we could just get a big tub of varnish and just dip them in
It
there.
still needs to be thin coat. Because varnish is wet, and so it soaks into the pores. You need to give it time to soak and then dry and fix itself. I'm trying to think if there's any, because I go through the whole thing as much as I possibly can. Pros and cons. Is there a con to not doing it, and is there a pro? I don't know if that will keep the. I know some people have an issue with the wood darkening so much that they lose their burn, and I'm wondering.
Well, gonna have to test it.
Yeah, because I don't have that issue. I don't have that issue, so that makes it hard for me to figure out why it happens to some people and why it doesn't happen to others. I don't know.
Suspense says we should all do the experiment and see how it affects in each area that we live.
That would be perfect, Spence, because I can't talk about a highly humid area because we just don't live in that.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry. So yeah, if somebody, I've got the Southwest, I will test for the Southwest. And Burl and Spencer are in the same area, so. But yeah, if we could find somebody who can do it, in the South, in the Southeast, in the Northeast, in the center of the U.S., and the same for up in Canada, we could have a better idea of how the wood works in that area. And if I can get everybody to test it, if I can lay out how we test it all the same way, with the same product, just so and with the same kind of wood, doesn't have to be the same burning, the same kind of wood and thickness and type. If we could do that in all the different areas, ecosystems of the U.S. and Canada, and then I can put it, everybody sends me pictures and their thoughts of their area, and I can put it all together on a blog post, and then you can go to that area if it's the same as yours and see how it works for you. Yay, Sheila will do the UK.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sheila's got the UK, which, aren't they pretty wet? Well, I don't know.
I think so.
Well, summer I think dries off there. Same as British Columbia.
Mm.
They dry off, we get wet.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I think everybody would have to do 2 small pieces. You'd have to do 2 burns in the same way in the same wood.
Yes.
And then you would completely seal one and then half seal the other.
Yeah.
And that way you'd have a comparison to see if one was faded. Because if you just did one and completely sealed it, you'd have no idea.
Other than comparing to your old work. No, to do a test properly, you need a control piece and then the test piece. So the control piece, I think can everybody get 1/8 of an inch thick piece of basswood, which for Sheila would be linden? Or do we need to do birch? Bro, just send me the winter. I will happily take it for you.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Sheila and Burl, you tell me what woods you have and the thickness you have, and then I will find, because we are luckier down here in the U.S. that we have more options, kind of.
Yeah.
So you guys tell me, no maple. How about birch?
Oh.
Although I guess we could do a bigger piece. We could, Sheila, can you get walnut hollow basswood with the bark edge? Because I think we also need the bark edge too. That would be a good practice too. Won't be able to get 1/8 in it. Okay, so can you grab that circle down there, please?
What circle?
The one with the basswood with the live edge. Although I think a square would probably be better because that's an end cut down there.
Where?
Down at the bottom.
Yeah, I know. Do you want me
The
to
piece of
square
wood.
or do you want me to circle?
The circle.
Okay.
Is there? Yeah, that. Okay.
Look what she did.
There you go. She took it apart. Oh God.
Get the edge off of it.
Okay. Can you, Sheila? Can you get the walnut hollow? And because Burl, are you able to get the walnut hollow up there in Canada without it costing you an arm and a leg? Because that's another thing. Not an arm and a leg. I don't want this to be an expensive thing for anybody.
Birch. That's what
Okay, Burl has birch. Spence has birch. We need to know what Sheila has. And then trying to think if Carmen, I know Carmen always does these kinds of pieces of wood. Though she might do it on maple as well. Birch would be easier. Okay. So Burl says she can sacrifice a walnut hollow board. Sheila says she can get one.
Not around.
Oh, not around. No. I don't want a round because then we have a whole other issue of dealing with the end cut. I'd want two small square rectangular ones if we do it with that.
Roxy, out.
I have some in my cabinet, but I don't feel like opening it. What I can do is Sheila show me what you can get small and affordable, and then I will try to source the same thing and then find out if Burl can get the same thing. That way, because the UK does have the hardest time finding woods. I think out of the 3 locations.
Hey. That's what you're trying to go for.
Okay.
No.
Well, we could look at that. Spence said maybe if we got one big piece cut into small pieces and send them to the people who are doing it. I'm trying to, yeah, I can sacrifice a basswood board and cut it up and send 2 to each person. I can do that. Because that 1/8 or the 1/4 inch is going to bend the most. It's going to move the most. So I think that's going to be the best way to test it. So I can send 5x7s, 2 each. That way it keeps the burn small. Sheila, I'm going to send you wood.
She says birch.
Yeah, I'm going to send you some basswood. I think that would be the easiest way to go. So that means we got the Northwest with Burl and Spence, if Spence wants to do it. We've got me in the Southwest, which covers, New Mexico, Arizona, Southern California, Southern Nevada, Southern Utah. So we need middle of the country. No. I'm gonna cut basswood like this. It's not gonna have any bark. We're not gonna mess with the bark. I've got long 24-inch sheets of basswood that's an eighth of an inch, and I've got 1/4 of an inch, and I got 3/4 inch. I will cut that board down and send that out. No bark. It can go in an envelope. Kind of like it'll be about the size of your Christmas present times 2 pieces. So yeah, you got your Christmas present. So if we do the one big piece, I will cut it all. So we're all using the same piece of wood. So I just need people to volunteer, and I'll post it in the group so that we have Southeast, like Florida and Alabama and Georgia and the Carolinas, and then we need the Northeast, New York, Vermont. We need similar areas in Canada. So I'll talk to Carmen, because Carmen, I believe, is kind of in the middle. And then I need to find somebody more east. And then the north, the Midwest, the mid, and then the north mid. So Minnesota, Michigan, around the Great Lakes. So if we get that in Canada around the Great Lakes, I think that's kind of the same environment. So that should be fine. So I'll cut the wood down, and I'll just send it to whoever is going to be testing. Problem is we need to pick a product.
Well, we don't have to do all that right now.
No, we don't. We don't. Do we have any questions on the varnish? Oh, he's north of... Oh, okay, he's north. Okay. I thought he was east. We'll have to... I will post in the big group and see who all... I'll break it down in map sections so it's just easier to have a visual of where everybody is and who all is testing what. And we'll figure out the products we're testing. And then I'll draw a pattern. And that's what we'll all burn. That way it's all the same. Teresa has come back. He hasn't come back to the lives. We don't know what's going on. He had things going on and whatnot. So, we got any questions about the varnish? Next week I'm going to work on the background. And that'll be the end of May. Won't it?
Yes.
No. This Saturday, if you are in Arizona, even more so northern Arizona, Night Visions opens from 6 to 8 at the Coconino Center for the Arts, and we both have peace in it. Mm-hmm. So we hope we can see you there. It would be awesome to meet some toasties. I know Kathy left, and he tried to... Hugh said he was going to try to go. I'll have to make a post about it. So you got a big piece in Night Visions, and I have the Nebula, the Raven Nebula in the Night Vision show, which is an international show, so you'll see all kinds of work. And don't forget to subscribe. I always forget and say it at the end if I say it.
And like.
And I always forget. I'm bad that way.
But we appreciate it. We appreciate you hanging out with us.
Appreciate everybody. So say it with me. You know what to say. You're awesome. You can do this. Why? Because you're a pyro artist. Happy burning, guys. Bye. Food. Yep. We need food.